All right, this is episode 54 of the Homestead Shop Talk podcast with Al from Lumnah Acres and Ben from Hollar Homestead and myself, Jason from Sutherland. And I'm just getting back into it, guys. I just got back last night from Iowa. So, you're only gone. I was only gone like 6 days, but it might as well be in at least a month.
A long time to be away from home.
I know. Even though we talk for once a week, it's not like we skipped a week, but it feels like I haven't talked to you guys in forever. So how you guys been?
Good. Not as busy as you by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I've been driving most of the time, it seems like.
And I've been good. Being kind of taking it easy this past couple weeks. It's been good. Haven't done a whole lot.
Did we get any rain since I was gone?
I think it rained Sunday night. It was one of those things. I checked the weather in the morning, no chance of rain, and then it gets cloudy and starts sprinkling. I was like, oh, sweet. Check the weather again. And it's like, oh yeah, 1.5 inches coming. I was like, what? And it never materialized, but it just kind of drizzled a little bit on like all day. And then that night we actually got some substantial rain. I think we got 1/2 inch or something like that. So we did get rain. Now I will say, July 3rd is the start of the dog days of summer. And that's the day we're recording this right now. And as the saying goes, the first day of the dog days of summer sets the pace for how the rest of, it's till August 14th or something like that. Every year we've been here, we always get an epic thunderstorm the 3rd, and then we get epic thunderstorms every other day, all through the dog days of summer. Today was actually really pleasant. No rain, kind of, it's below 90, like it's like 85 or something like that today. So I hope that means, I hope it doesn't mean we're not getting rain the rest of this summer. So we'll see. We'll see if that saying holds true.
I know it's crispy out there.
Now, is that a saying for where you, like the area where you guys are? Because I've never heard that before.
What?
I guess so.
July, August.
So it's from July 3rd till I believe it's August 14th. I would have to, Oh, Meg says 11th. But when we got here, all of the locals are like, yeah, you got to watch for the dog days of summer. However that first day is of the dog days of summer, that's how the rest of the dog days will be. And I'll be darned if that hasn't been completely accurate. I'm hoping that's not the case. I hope we get some rain, but so far this summer hasn't been that bad. I mean, we haven't had any rain, which that kind of sucks, but it hasn't been so miserable hot that usually it's miserable hot. But if it's a day where it's 94, we're guaranteed a thunderstorm. So far that kind of hasn't been the case. So I don't know. We'll see.
So who wants to go first? Talk about their week.
I want to know how Menards was.
I had to stop by Menards. It's funny because I remember some of the first videos I posted on YouTube. You film yourself at Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and I remember those videos. I buy some lumber, take it home, and so many people in my comment section were like, "How come you just don't go to Menards? They have better pricing." And I'm like, "Menards, what is that? Like, I never heard of that." And I Googled it, and I was like, "We don't have a Menards." And so now I finally was able to go to one, because they're all over there. I guess they're more of a Midwestern lumber / Walmart.
They're like Home Depot or Lowe's. They're just the big box store, green instead of orange or blue.
I know. So yeah, I picked up a souvenir. I got a green bucket now.
Ooh.
It was pretty cool. It was during the McMurray. So I went to the McMurray Hatchery Festival. Murray Fest is what they called it. And on the second day, it was around lunchtime, and I was like, "Hey, let's go stop by Menards real quick. I wanted to film my first time at Menards." So we took a break and went to Menards, and then came back to the festival.
That's funny.
It was cool.
Yep.
So what's the verdict?
Is there Lowe's or Home Depot out there?
I mean, you're definitely your one-stop shop. They have everything in there. You don't have to go to. I mean, they had some feed dog food and like pet feed type stuff. They had mattresses in there.
That's interesting.
I didn't see any Lowe's or Home Depot in the area.
Okay.
I mean, I seen them over there, but not specifically like by Menards. But maybe there was. I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty neat to go to one. Just to, we've talked about it before, but and hearing other people's talk about it, so finally got to go to one.
I'm jealous. I love Menards. I wish we lived closer.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's better. It's good pricing. I really didn't check out prices too much, but I was like, I wasn't gonna really buy anything. But we did have some good weather out there. 75 degrees with a little breeze.
Nice.
So I guess that's pretty rare, but it was really nice. And the festival was cool, man. Like those are always fun to go to. And it was at one of the fair areas, I guess where they have fairs in the little town.
Fairgrounds.
And it wasn't so, I mean, it was our first one, so it wasn't like, you go to HOA, there's like, I don't know, what, 5,000 people or something.
Yeah.
This one, I think they said they sold under 1,000 tickets. So I think it was around 800 or 900 or something.
That's still a lot of people.
I found it.
So, yeah, it was a good amount of people, but it wasn't like over, too much. It was like you could actually walk around and like talk to people. It wasn't like overpowering.
They also there was a conference going on in Idaho the same weekend.
Yeah, I know, because some of the speakers that were speaking there, like, spoke there and then flew because they were speaking in Iowa too, like in the same weekend.
Yep.
That's a busy weekend, speaking at two places in one weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a mistake to have it on the same weekend, or they just, it is two different parts of the country, so maybe it just didn't matter. But
well, they're not that far away though.
No, I guess not. But
that was, I think it was Modern Homesteading Conference was Friday, Saturday in Idaho.
Yeah. And
then the McMurray Fest was Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
I believe. I just saw all that stuff on Instagram and I was like, wait a minute, what? There's two events going on? I'm like, this seems kind of, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I was surprised.
And, the people were cool. I met, which I never talked to him before, Mindful Homestead. Jack, is it Jack?
Jack, yep.
Yeah. He had a booth there. He was selling some of his soaps. So I was talking to him for a minute. He said he was going to try to get you to go down there, Al, with him.
He tried. I didn't want to take the 20-hour car ride.
I know. He drove by himself 20 hours.
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
What did you have, a 13-hour ride?
It was like 16 around there.
So you had a good ride too.
Yeah. It's out there.
Yeah.
The first 7 hours is pretty nice, but then the last 7 hours is just corn mazes as far as the eye can see.
There's not a whole lot out there when you're driving.
Yeah. But it was cool, man. Like, the people were nice. And so, like, a lot of them, I asked them if this was their first kind of homesteading event. And I would say most of them were, like that they all kind of lived up in that area. So they had never been to an event like that, which was pretty cool to, typically the event we go to is like in Tennessee or Virginia.
Yep.
But like being up there, it was pretty neat that, people up there got a chance to go to something like that, which made it pretty nice. And meeting those folks was cool. So yeah, I mean, we just walked around and I spoke, and I would say that was one of the time, I don't know, when we spoke, Ben, remember in California we spoke?
Yeah.
Together?
Yep.
There was a lot of people in there. That might have been the most we've ever had, and also one of the first times we ever spoke.
It's the first time we ever spoke. That was the last time we've spoken, too.
I don't know how many people there were, but it seemed like a lot in that room. And then, so I don't know if it was that many people, or maybe it was just our first time. We were just like, oh my gosh, this is so many people. But there was quite a bit of people there still. Which was cool. And I would say, like, in the beginning of my talk, I was like, how many people watch my YouTube channel? And I would say less than half raised their hand. So I don't know. There were still a lot of folks maybe probably didn't know who I was, which is great. Like,
Hey, that's cool. That's an honest first impression.
Yeah. So it was fun. We rented it. We had to rent a vehicle to go down there, and well, we didn't have to, but we did. And it was like a Mitsubishi SUV, and it was like brand new. It was only 3,000 miles, 2024. They gave us in those new cars. There's push buttons for everything. There's a button for everything. To put on the parking brake, there's a button, and so it was kind of like, whoa, this is weird. Like when you first drive into it. I accidentally like hit a button with my finger, and it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, oh, what's happening? It's, like, it's kind of funny, but towards the end, I guess I kind of got used to driving it, but I don't know. How come it can't be just simple? Like, I just want to be able to turn it on and just a brake and a gas and a parking brake. Like, why is it got to be all these buttons?
Man, gone are the days of simple cars. Cars are so full of technology now.
Yeah, it was wild. Like everything, like even if you felt like you were swerving or like, you went over a little bit, it would alert you like, hey, get back. Like it'll make a loud noise. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And there's a coffee symbol on there. Like if it seemed like to think like I'm like kind of driving
and you're
like,
dozing off, you're drowsy.
Like a coffee. Yeah, a coffee symbol pops up and it says, get back in the lane.
Have a cup of coffee. Wake up.
I wish it would pour me a cup at the same time.
Yeah, that's where it's at. Got a built-in coffee maker.
Yeah. Yes. So I don't even have to stop. Yes. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Was there any Buc-ee's along the way?
We did. I've never been to Buc-ee's.
You did. I've never been to a Buc-ee's either, but everybody talks about Buc-ee's. You got to stop at those. So
it's like I don't know. I don't know. We compare everything to Walmart, but it's it's a giant gas station where they make brisket.
At a gas station.
It looks homemade to me. Yeah, like a brisket. And they're chopping it up, putting it in between buns, serving it. I was like, wow. It was packed. It was packed over there.
That's funny.
But yeah, overall, it was cool. It was a good time. But yeah, it's just a long drive. We did stop by, I do want to say Heartway Farms. I don't know if you guys follow Heartway Farms on YouTube. They're a family that we've never actually met in person. We've like talked on the phone, text, maybe email, but we knew what they were in Illinois area. And so on the way up, we stayed the night, one night there, and it was cool hanging out with them and their family, and just to have a break, just get out, take our time going up and stuff. But so yeah, it was cool to be up there and seeing kind of stuff they do. They're on 14 acres. They raise animals and stuff. And so it was cool to be just in a different area of the country and meeting other people like that. So about 2 days to go up there, and then 8-hour drive coming home. We stayed the night at an Airbnb, and then the next day we're on the road for like 10 hours coming home. So yeah, we're trying to just get back into it now,
So you're probably a little bit sore sitting here doing this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. My butt's sore.
Man, it's hard driving like that.
Roots in the car.
Yeah, I bet you have sprouted some roots.
Yeah, it's a 2-day drive. 2-day drive for sure, but 3 days would be great. But
Well, you did it and then turned right back around and did it again.
Yeah.
It's not like you had like a week off or anything. You had a couple of days, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a long haul. But yeah, it's good to be back. My wife's parents, my father-in-law, mother-in-law, they were here watching our place, and he said everything was fine. Everything went smooth, no problems, and everything was good. So now, yeah.
Getting back, does it look like your grass grew a foot while you were gone?
Yeah. It seems like my pigs grew and my chickens grew. It just looks, it was only a short time, but it feels like, you feel like you're gone forever. And I'm like, the garden is just like go crazy, tomatoes. Like we didn't have tomatoes before we left. Now we have a ton of tomatoes. I think we picked maybe like 20 horn worms when we got back.
Oh man, they've been bad this year.
Everything's popping. Yeah, those hornworms are crazy. They're like zombies, little zombies.
Crazy how big they get.
Yeah, they just appear.
Yep.
Where do they come from?
You got to go outside at night in the dark with a
Black light.
what do they call those lights? A dark light, black light, and they
I
go
haven't
in the
done that
dark.
yet.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they fluoresce
They really pop
green.
out?
Yeah.
Oh man, it makes it so easy to see them. You just go out there in the dark with the black light, just looking around, and all of a sudden it's like, bam, there's one.
It's just fun to, even if you don't want to like do that every night to pick them. It's just kind of like, oh really? They glow in the dark like that?
Wow.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
The other night, I don't know, I went out there. I think it was Monday night. I went out there and I probably picked 30 of them, 20 to 30 of them easy. Only, like 3 or 4 of them were the great big giant ones. The rest of them were all pretty small still. But I just leave them in a bucket and they can't crawl out. And then as soon as the chickens are up in the morning, when I'm feeding all the chickens, I just dump that bucket in there and just sit there and gloat. It's like, that's what you get for eating my tomatoes. Now you're chicken food. You eat my tomatoes, my chickens eat you.
As you laugh.
Yeah. I get great satisfaction.
You're like, why is Dad laughing funny out there at a bucket?
Maniacal laughter as the chickens destroy these worms.
Pointing at him. I do want to say though, before I forget, when I was at the festival, I had multiple people come up to me and say, "Hey, where's Al? Where's Ben?" So you guys were definitely missed, and there was also quite a few people, those same people, that were like, "Hey, they listened to the podcast," so which is pretty cool,
That's cool.
that
So we
people-
should have done our live podcast there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so that was pretty neat. That people listen.
Yep.
Because it's hard to tell if people. I mean, I guess we could tell from like YouTube comments, but like, I don't know. It's just different. Like,
It's hard to gauge.
yeah, like we've been doing our own channels for a while, so we could kind of understand now that people do watch. But like the podcast, almost like you kind of like forget that we have a podcast. Kind of.
Yeah.
Because we're just talking on the phone. Like, it doesn't feel like a podcast, really.
Right.
So that was pretty fun. So how about you guys? What'd you do while I was gone?
And I said a little bit ago, I haven't been doing a whole lot. We didn't mean to take some time off of YouTube, but we've taken some time off of YouTube. We've kind of been reassessing, I guess, directions we want to head, things we want to do on the channel. Just so it's been about 2 weeks that we've really put out any content. And in the meantime, life moves on. Just because it's not on YouTube doesn't mean we're not doing stuff. It does feel kind of like I'm playing hooky from work or something like that. Not grabbing the camera every day, but yeah, we've been harvesting a whole bunch of stuff. The other day I harvested the rest of our potatoes that we have ready. Probably another 50 pounds of potatoes. We harvested 20 pounds of potatoes last night, or tomatoes last night. It's just like we're in the produce, like we're officially in summer. You know what? You're officially in summer when you get to eat things like we had tacos last night for dinner, and it's our pork, shredded pork tacos. We made the tortillas ourselves. And then we get to go out to the garden and pick jalapenos and fry up the jalapenos and eat those with our tacos. Like, we got onions, we got cilantro. Like, it was good. It was bomb. And then the other thing to eat that like signifies that it's truly summer is tomato pie. And I know there's people are going to hear that and go, tomato pie? What the heck is that? That sounds disgusting. That's what I thought too. And even just having it described, it was like, yeah, no, that's not going to be good. Tomato pie is basically you take a whole bunch of like really ripe tomatoes, not mushy, but ripe, nice, beautiful red tomatoes. You slice them up, put them on a rack. You skin them first. You salt them, try to get as much moisture out of them as possible. And then you layer them in a pie pan, layer of tomatoes, layer of onions, layer of basil, and then just repeat. And you just kind of build a lasagna out of it. And then you mix mayonnaise, cheese, and various seasonings up and make a paste, and you cover this tomato pie in this stuff and then cook it in the oven. It doesn't really taste tomatoey. Maybe Buggy doesn't really like tomatoes, and she tried some. She goes, it tastes like ketchup. And it kind of does. Like, it kind of tastes like ketchup. Like, that's the easy way to describe it. But it's like a super cheesy, melty, ooey gooey mess. It's freaking delicious. I'm going to sit here and, like, we just ate dinner. I just had tomato pie with dinner, and I'm going to start drooling just talking about it. Like, that's a truly a summer dish. So yeah, summer's here. We're eating good. Just kind of doing our thing. We'll get back in the saddle shortly, but I know there's probably going to be people like, hey, where are the Hollars at? Like, I know we've started getting messages. I start hearing from people that I haven't heard from in a while. They start messaging. It's like, oh, I haven't heard from you in about 6 months. It must be because we haven't posted in 2 weeks. So yeah, we're going to get back to it here pretty quick.
They'll start messaging me about it.
Have you been getting messages asking if I'm all right?
No, not yet, but you know.
Would you check on your neighbor? Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Well, I think what's hard is, like, we kind of got away from social media, period. We, like, Meg quit doing Instagram. Just sometimes you have to protect your mental state. And as anybody knows, social media can be an extremely toxic place. And she found that being on Instagram, it was taking her peace. And so, you know, this was while she was pregnant with Elizabeth, and you don't need any more stress than you already deal with on a daily basis. So why would you get on social media and get stressed out? Why would you worry about stuff? Why would you do that when you could just stay off of it? And so she's been off. I've been off social media, all but YouTube, pretty much since 2020. I mean, I have a Telegram. I'm on there every now and then, but other than that, like, I don't post on social media. YouTube is pretty much, that's it. But it's because we're not posting on social medias. If we stop posting on the one that we do, it's like we fell off the face of the planet. So we're still here. We're, like I said, just reassessing directions we want to head. So I think that's about it. We're currently looking forward to lighting off some fireworks. I know the boys are super stoked. That'll be tomorrow as we film this tonight. We're all stocked up, ready to go. You know, I will say fireworks are something I have always enjoyed. Like, I have always loved fireworks. I'm a pyromaniac when it comes to fireworks. And fireworks, I would say from this
California.
year,
being from California.
Yeah, being from California. Fireworks are so freaking expensive. It's almost prohibitively expensive. Like, just watching them, I buy the same fireworks from year to year. And, you know, what a couple $100 would get us, you know, we'd walk out with a shopping cart full versus you walk out with a couple bags full for the same amount of money. And it's just, you know, everything's going up. But it's just, that's kind of frustrating. It's like, man, I bought the same firework last year and it cost like $10. This year it's $30. Like, eventually I'm going to get priced out of this. Eventually it's, yeah. You know, I've thought about it. Like, we could probably, you know, as the boys get older, their wants and desires change, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to come to a point where, do you guys know what tannerite is? A couple cans of tannerite and a few rounds, the boys will have more fun with that than they would fireworks. So yeah, just rolling with punches.
That's good enough.
We're changing.
Yeah. You got to quench that thirst.
It's the one time a year we get to
5-gallon bucket full.
Yeah, that's something. Living out here, we actually have places to do stuff like that, and we didn't so much in California. There's a few places we could go do stuff like that, but you know, driving for an hour just to to have some fun like that when I can do it in my own backyard now. It's kind of cool. So yeah, that's kind of my update. Whole bunch of everything and not enough any one thing to report. So that's where we're at.
You lighting up fireworks out?
No, we'll probably hear some. We might see some. Being surrounded by mountains, sometimes you can see them going off, which is nice.
Do they sell them where you're at?
Oh yeah, you can get them up here.
Okay.
But,
do you get the fun ones or the not fun ones?
No, you can get the fun ones up here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm usually in bed. Especially this time of the year by the time it gets dark. We'll see them usually round and about, but yeah, we don't light them off. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things. I grew up in Massachusetts, so in Massachusetts they weren't legal and they weren't readily available. So you'd have like the smaller ones growing up, but I never got huge into it. Now you can get them. I'm getting old, I guess. I go to bed before it gets dark.
If you hang around with Ben enough, then you'll get into it.
You'll get into it.
Hey, I was telling
influence. It sounds like.
I was telling Meg, I was like, you know what? Like, we're getting older. Like, I'm sitting here watching, like, what time it gets dark. We're gonna, like, it gets dark by 9:30. We could probably start 9:30. I plan on being over and done with, and probably back home by 10 o'clock. Like, that's just how it's gonna be. Like, this old guy's got to go to bed.
What happens when you get old and you're homesteading? Like your animals make sure you get up on time, and and we could light them off. We could light them off in the morning when it's still dark out easier than we could at night when it's dark out.
Amen. That is the truth, man. My neighbors would love me then.
I get mad at my neighbors when they light them off late at night because I want to sleep. So I guess it'd just be like the role reversal, right? Waking them up early in the morning.
Hey. You know, kind of the way it is out here is you don't complain about your neighbors, they won't complain about you. We haven't had really any problems since we've been here, and I don't have any problems with my neighbors, and it's like, it's awesome. And talking to them, like, that's just how it is. It's like, you don't call on me, I won't call on you. We got no problems.
So we've been working on fencing in new pasture, but it's just gonna be like summer pasture, and you guys don't have to contend with moose. We have moose we got to worry about walking through our fences. So I've been trying to think of...
Do they just like walk right through it, like destroy it?
Yeah. So we have, at the old homestead, we had woven wire, you know, like what you put up, Jason, and they just plowed right through it, bent it over. We had wood posts. The wood post didn't get damaged, but we had T-post, and the T-post just got sheared off at the ground and like flopped over. They walked in one corner, walked through the pasture, and just plowed right through the other side and just bent the fence over there. And I mean, it was fixable, but I was like, really? Like, they just walk through it? I don't know if they don't see it. They don't care.
Like, not even phased, probably.
Right. I was like,
man,
what is this? Just boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
What if it's electrified? Moose.
I don't think they care.
Really?
But back before, when we lived, way before, I had horses, and we had electric fence, and we had that electric fence took down one time. We're assuming that was from a moose. They just walked through it and dragged it off. Then they had to go find it and put it back up.
So what do you do then?
So this time, what I'm doing, because I know there's moose in the area that were put in the pasture, while they walk through it. Every time I hit a corner, I bought Premier One makes them. I don't know exactly what they're for, but they make a stainless steel spring for electric fences. So at every corner, I'm tying it off to a spring. So I'm hoping that the spring will give it enough elasticity so it'll just kind of like move out of bounce back. Or if it doesn't, just that one section will pop off, and then I can just stand it back up, and it won't like bother the T-post or anything. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's what I came up with. So far, it's working. It's still up, but we don't get any livestock in there yet.
Wow.
That'd be a pain, having to worry about some giant moose coming through and just destroying your fence. not even caring, just like it's tripping on a big blade of grass or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if they don't. I don't know if they don't see it or if they just don't care. But
I picture bison like that.
Right.
Like, it's got to be that sturdy.
Yeah. Everybody's like,
forget that.
Everybody's like, oh, you got to build these huge, gigantic fences. I'm like, I'm not trying to keep them in. I just want to keep them out, and I don't know when they're coming. Like, you know how much money it would cost to build fences around the whole property for that? It's like,
Right. Yeah, maybe that would work. You just got to make it to where it just kind of breaks off.
right, and just keep an eye on it.
And it does, yeah, and it doesn't knock down a pole or a T-post or anything like that.
Right. If I just got to put the string back up, that's no big deal. Versus having to, fix posts and put new fence up or line up. So I'll keep you posted on that and let you know how it goes.
Yeah. Just in case we have that problem over here.
That's right. The moose might stop moving south. You never know. And then I hung a gate or put a gate out, and I dug a hole. Luckily I put 3 bags of concrete around the 6x6, backfilled it with the excavator, packed it, and the next day I went out. We had gotten like an inch or 2 of rain overnight, so it was like a big sinkhole all around the post. So I know if I didn't have the concrete around it, the post would have just like floated up out of the ground and like fell over. Because I stepped over there to go start working on the gate, and I sunk like up. Probably I had my 10-inch tall boots on, and I sunk up to the top of my work boots. I was like, yeah, that would not be good. That's the good torrential downpours.
Oh man, all or nothing.
All or nothing. But I mean, if I had a water tank, it would have filled the water tank overnight, probably, right? So we finally went and picked up our new livestock that we're getting to put in the pasture. So we're getting Shorthorn and Highland cattle mix. So we're going to start breeding them for meat.
So what's a Shorthorn Highland cattle mix? What is that?
So it's a half Shorthorn, half Highland cattle.
Okay.
So I didn't realize this. I don't know if you guys know. So Shorthorns are a dual purpose breed, which I'm sure you guys know that. But I shouldn't say they make, but there's a milking Shorthorn and then there's a beef Shorthorn. So even though they're a dual purpose breed, like they must have been bred, and like people like are specifically breeding them for different things. So the ones that we have, they're the beef Shorthorn. So they're pretty big and rugged, which is kind of cool. They don't have like the dairy mix in them that you see sometimes.
What do they look more like, a Highland cattle or?
They look more like a Highland cattle, but more, even compared to the Highland cattle, they look more like an Angus, I guess, like the body shape of like a nice solid beef.
They got that long hair?
They have a medium coat. The ones that we got.
That's kind
of
cool.
Reason the Shorthorn cattle, yeah. So the Shorthorn cattle are good for beef, but then like the Highland cattle are good grazers, and they're like one of the only breeds that can convert or can put fat on without grain. They can marble their meat just with eating grass and hay, because they have like a 1/4 of an inch thick hide, and they don't have to put fat between the hide and their meat to stay warm. And they have a double hair coat, so they can put that fat right in the meat off of grass. But Highland cattle take 3 years to grow out on grass. Our Shorthorn cattle will grow out in 2 years. So if you cross them, you kind of get like the best of both worlds. Instead of having to wait 3 years to send one to butcher, you can do it in 2. And the other thing with the Highland cattle, their horns get so long, the USDA processors won't, or in our area at least, they won't take anything that has over a 36-inch long spread. So they won't slaughter them. You could bring them to a regular butcher, but if you want to slaughter them and be able to sell the meat packaged, you can't. So that's one of the things we want to get into, is we want to get into raising it and the beef to sell. So it's like we're trying to come up with like the best of both worlds. So we've had the meat from the crosses, and it's delicious. So,
how many did you get?
Right now we have 2. We're supposed to be getting 1 more, and we're working on lining up a bull, another Highland cattle bull, like the one that George that we had that died. So we're just waiting on testing to come back. She's testing a few of them for us to see if they're A2. But it takes quite a while to get that genetic test back nowadays.
Well, that's good, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How are your pigs doing?
The pigs are doing good. I'm going to say they've doubled in size, but they're still a little bit slower growing than like a regular pig. But I feel like the same thing with a regular pig. Like it's like, oh, they're slow growing. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what happened overnight? They're like quadrupled in size.
They're still pretty gentle on the land?
Yep. They're so small still.
Mm-hmm.
I don't dare leave them out on pasture yet, because we got bear and we got coyotes. So I'm like, so we have them. They can go in and out of the barn, but the run is it's an outside area, but it's not pasture anymore because they haven't really dug it up, but there's not any fresh grass. So I've been mowing grass and giving them the clippings for now. It's fun to watch how good they eat the grass. I just laugh. And you dump out a bag full of grass clippings and they're gone in like an hour.
Amazing.
Right? It's like I'm taking my weeds and I'm turning them into bacon. Yeah, I can get down with this.
It's a weird thing to watch a pig sit and graze like it's a cow or something. Every time I see Jason's pigs and I watch them they walk and daintily eat the tops of the grass off. And it's like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
I know. It's so bizarre. It's
So
like it feels like your mind is playing tricks on you.
Right. We got the fermented alfalfa in a bag, and I'll feed them grain at night, and then I'll put some of that down. Half of them will stop eating grain and go eat the fermented alfalfa, and then they'll go back to the grain. It's like,
wow. They like that better. Cool. Yeah.
They like their eggs. We give them a couple of eggs every day. They like their raw milk. I mean, they're spoiled pigs, but we'll be spoiled in the future.
That's all about.
That's the way I'm looking at it. Right? So I've been scouring the internet since before springtime looking for a manure spreader. And every time I try to find one, they were selling fast. But luckily, I just found one this past weekend. So I got I think it's like a 1940s or 40. I think the guy said they were built from the 40s to 1955. It's New Idea is the brand. It's a gear-driven or ground-driven one.
That's what
kind of new, kind of cool. It's the old technology. Yeah, it's still got some of the original paint on it.
That's cool.
So I don't know if they didn't use it a lot or if they kept it undercover. He said it was a sheep farmer that traded it in. I don't know if he's had it I think he said he's had it for a couple of years because he sells hay. He's got a farm and he sells hay, and he said somebody traded it in. They weren't using it anymore and they needed hay. He's like, they used to have a sheep farm, so there's like one rusted out board. Everything else is original. Tires are original on it. So
what are you gonna put in there?
I'm gonna be putting in composted cow manure and spreading that out in the pasture. I wanted to get it spread before spring, so we could have like the good fertilization before spring grass, but we didn't. So I'm gonna have to mow some areas. The grass is growing so good here this year. I'm not gonna be able to get the cows out on some of it before it goes by. So I'll mow it down. I'll fertilize it with the composted manure, and then we can get them out there. Hopefully in like 30 days, maybe. If we have some good rain.
Like you're on your weather, do you feel like you're always on a time crunch?
Oh yeah. We were talking about that recently. It feels like there's always a time crunch and you're always trying to plan for the next season. Because especially with winter coming, if you're not set up with your projects like you don't get like a certain part of your project done and ready. Like say you get like a foundation, you got some outside work you got to do. You got to get that stuff done before winter comes in. So you're kind of always planning for the next season and making sure you get everything done that you can get done. Do you guys feel that way?
A little bit, but
yeah, a little bit. Well, you know what? Now that you it's not as bad as you guys have it because we can still, do stuff. But there are definitely things that, like, I very much look forward to being able to do in winter. It's kind of like butchering pigs. I will never butcher a pig in the summer again if I can help it. I enjoy doing it when it's cold. I enjoy not needing the refrigeration. I love the lack of bugs. I think that's the main thing I like about it.
Yes.
That alone will get you.
Yep. And once those hornets find meat or whatever, man, it's over. They tell all their friends, and then you got hornets everywhere. And the flies come in. It's miserable if it's hot. So there's stuff like that. There are certain projects that, like, building projects. I prefer to do building when it's cold outside. To a point. I mean, we do have the select few days a year that it's too cold to dig in the dirt. Like it's kind of fun. It's really weird when the ground freezes solid and you go to stick a shovel in the dirt and you can't dig. I had heard about that, and like I said, we get a couple days a year that are like that, but that's a new concept for us, California bloods.
But your frost probably only gets like 6 inches deep. So if you really needed to dig, you could probably.
Yeah, you can chip it out and get below, or just wait until, noon. And then it defrosts and then
Until
you
the
can
sun
start
comes
digging.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, wait till the sun's been on it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sleep in, drink your coffee, and then, all right, I'm going back out there.
There you go. We're like, yeah, we'll give it a few more months.
Yeah, there's none of that.
I'm going to go hibernate for the winter. I wish.
Clearing a fence line, though, like, definitely in the winter, man. I would not be doing that right now.
Right.
Heck no.
Hey, Jason.
But you got all winter to do it.
Yeah.
If you need a fence line cleared, I have some teenagers that would you could probably talk them into doing some work for you. They're just sitting around bored right now.
Ooh, in the hot sun.
They got hats.
They get hats.
Hey, like
I'll give them some water.
when I was that age, have lawnmower, weed eater, will travel. Like I was always hustling up things to do.
I know, especially if you already have that equipment, like you might as well start your landscape company.
So I want to know, what do you guys use for computers? Do you use Macs, like MacBook Pro laptops for your editing? What do you guys use?
Mac.
Yep, Mac.
So I've used a Mac, I shouldn't say since day one. The first computer I bought wasn't a Mac, and it didn't last very long before I had to replace it. So I got a MacBook Pro. And I would say the first one lasted me the longest. I think I got a couple of years out of that. And then I've gone through 3 or 4 since. And I just had my break on Sunday night. I just quit. So then I call Apple. And they're like, you got like the best computer. That shouldn't happen. I'm just like, this one only lasted me a year. My last one lasted me 2 years. You guys tell me this every time. They're under warranty when they break. But when they break, you need a new one. And we don't have an Apple store around here, so we got to send them in. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to get them back. So you end up ordering a new one because you can get that in 2 or 3 days. And then you have a backup for when that one breaks next time. So like right now, I'm using the one that broke a couple of years ago that we had to replace. But so I just had to get what's that?
I have a MacBook Pro. I actually had this one probably been, I'm going to say 6 years. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it. I had initially bought another Mac before that, but it was not enough, like, as far as for doing editing videos, it wasn't enough, like, power or memory, or I went cheap, because they're expensive. And I was just like, man, but I regretted that right away. After I had a year, then I eventually got this one that I have now. And this is like I don't know how much memory, but I mean it's one of the higher ones you could get for editing.
Right.
And I love it. I love Macs.
Yes. I love them until they don't work.
Oh yeah.
I just think it's funny because they're always like, this never happens. I'm like, this time I'm just like, give me the thing. I'll send it in to get repaired. And now this is what I need to replace it. I'm going to order it. They're like, they're expensive. I'm like, I know, but what am I going to do? Not work for 4 weeks or 3 weeks, however long it takes to get back?
Yeah, I know. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
We
I haven't tried the new one yet.
Don't you know who I am?
We actually
the guy did say to me this time.
We actually had to buy a new MacBook Pro about a year ago, I think, because Meg was like in here doing something, and she was like, "Hey," she told Corbin, she was like, "Hey, go grab my laptop off the bed and bring it in here." And he's coming down the hallway and just fumbled it and dropped it. So, needless to say, we had to scramble and buy a MacBook Pro real quick. We were able to get that computer fixed, but man, it kind of sucks when it's like, hey, I guess I'm out of a job until I get a new computer and get everything set up again. So yeah, we feel your pain with busted computers.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how something little like that is like, oh wait, this is like my whole business. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, It is, but it isn't. You know what I mean? Like the whole YouTube pod is on your computer.
Start editing on your iPhone.
That wouldn't be any fun.
Yeah, I've tried that. That's miserable. There's people that do it though.
No way.
The Apple guy said to me, he's like, you do know if you get your other computer repaired within 14 days, you can send this brand new computer back because they are expensive. I'm like, I don't think I'll get it back in 14 days, but that's good to know. I could see, like, you can send it back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's horrible.
I thought that was funny. But I will say the first one we had was a MacBook Pro. We had an SD card reader in it. We had HDMI plugs. And we had USB ports. The second one we got only had USB ports and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
The next one we got, which I have right now, only has USB-C ports.
Yep, that's like
and the new one has back to the... Yes, that's no fun. The new one has... No, the one that I just had to send in has USB-C and an SD card reader, which is nice. The new one I just got has USB-C, SD card reader, and they went back to having an HDMI plug on them.
Really?
That'd be handy. Yeah, we use Meg's old one that had the HDMI and, it had everything before they, took it away and made you buy an appendage for the computer. We use that one. That's what we watch movies on. That'll hook to the projector, that kind of stuff. Like that computer's great, once we got it fixed. But man, it is such a hassle having to buy a dongle just to do anything with your computer. It's like, come on, Apple.
I know.
And then, right, so the one that I'm using right now, which is the third one to go now, just has UBC. So I think that's one you have right now, Ben. And so it's like if you have an SD card that you're using for editing, you got to have a dongle to.
Yep.
And everybody uses the MacBook Pros for editing. It's like, really? We don't have an SD card reader on these things anymore?
Yeah, I know. I have to do that. Yep.
That's one of those things when they can figure out how to make you subscribe. That's the direction they'll go. Oh yeah, subscribe to be able to use our SD reader.
I was freaking out when they stopped putting in CD drives in these things.
Yep.
Yep.
I was like, oh, okay. What do you mean? I have to buy a backup CD?
The first Apple I got didn't have one. I got it home expecting it to have one. I'm like, where's my DVD player? I can't even watch movies on this thing. What's going? I spent how much money on this, and I can't use it for movies?
I know.
We're dating ourselves, guys.
Yeah. They knew it. I know.
They weren't streaming back in that day.
Yeah, I had a bunch of CDs that I needed to burn. Like,
right. Now some kids probably have never even seen DVDs and CDs before.
Actually,
yeah,
we were going through a box and we found, that's what it was. Someone sent us a whole bunch of like Schoolhouse Rock CDs for Buggy, and half the kids were like, "What are these?" It's like, are you kidding me? These are CDs. Like, these were still being used in your early childhood. Like, come on. And so we had to, bust out the dongle DVD player, and it'll play CDs and show them that there's music on these little round disc things. So yeah, times have changed. I feel old.
I hear cassettes are making a comeback though.
I remember when CDs first came out when we were in high school, and then you had your little like CD player Walkman, and then they would skip. It's like, why would they make these portable? Like, how come we don't have like the cassettes still?
I liked my Walkman.
Yeah.
I had the yellow Sony Walkman that was like, it was sealed. It had a gasket all the way around it. So like you could go out in the rain and it wouldn't ruin your cassette player. I loved that thing. I thought I was the bee's knees with that thing.
Right. I remember when they came out with the iPods. That was kind of weird technology.
It was. I remember I had the first iPod and I had a ton of music on there, like thousands. And I lost it. I don't know what happened to it. And I was just like devastated.
That's something that bothers me is I have a lot of music that, I paid for. I ripped onto my computer to put on, iTunes. And I have had this music in my iTunes account for, 15 years, something like that, for a long time, like pretty much since high school. Well, as I've gotten, newer phones, all of a sudden it's this latest generation of phone, and I've got an old phone. I got a phone 5 years ago. I've had the same phone for that time. But when I got that phone, all of a sudden, none of the music that I had ripped off of CDs that I paid for will be recognized. The only stuff that iTunes will allow to go onto my phone when I sync it is stuff that I've bought in the iTunes store, the Apple store. So it has been kind of a hassle. I've got my old iPhone or my old, iPod that I carry around that I don't update. It just plays music. That's all I do. I've put like 2 different batteries in it over the years just to keep it going. But it's got all my music on it. If anything ever happens to it, man, I'm up a creek. Yeah. So maybe I'm just tech illiterate. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, but all this music that I've had for years, stuff that I used to listen to in high school that when we left California, I actually got rid of my box of CDs, and I've kicked myself for, but that stuff was on my computer and it won't sync to my phone. So I don't know, maybe I need to look into that a little bit further, but that's been a hassle I've had. It's like, I paid for it, put it on my phone so I can listen to it.
You know what I did recently, which I have a USB stick, and I have a port in my car, and I'm like you've been, like I had a bunch of CDs, but I downloaded all my CDs before I sold them onto a separate hard drive. So I dumped all those songs, which is like, I don't know, 30,000 songs or something, all onto that USB stick, and I plugged that in my car, and I could listen to all that in my car.
That's cool.
Like on random or whatever. It works.
Man, I had a lot of songs. It was something like it was like 40 days of music, something like that. If you push play all and it tells you how much time, it's like 41 days or something like that. It was a bunch. But yeah. The computer that stored all of that music died miserably. The hard drive, like the hard drive physically like seized up, like the motor went bad, and I took it to a guy who fixes stuff like that, and he's like, yeah, no, there's like bits of metal inside of it, like it's toast, man, you lost everything. So yeah, there's mishaps that happen.
I know, that's why I like records. I like collecting records. It's physical.
Right.
I wish I'd saved all my CDs. I had a bunch of them.
Yeah, they're probably. I bet you. I wonder if there's like collector item CDs now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Man, a lot of my stuff,
CDs or
I had, it was, early 2000s Christian rock music, but every CD I had was autographed by the entire band. Like, so it maybe to the right person, it might be worth something, but most of those bands probably aren't even around anymore.
Yeah. Before I forget, guys, I'm sending you one of these.
Ooh.
This is that door strike I mentioned in the last podcast.
Yep.
And Ben, I have one for you.
Turn it sideways. How thick is it? It looks thick. Wow.
Holy Toledo, that's huge.
Yeah. There's a little weight to this.
Yeah. Some gravity.
So this is the video. I did a video for the people that listen, Hill and Lock. The website's up now, so hillandlock.com. Like, you can go check out my my video on there, my commercial.
That's cool.
And then you can buy one of these. So I'll send you. I already sent it in the mail, Al. So
thank you.
You can try it out.
I've actually thought about figuring out how to like make a armored door. Just, I don't know, like, because I've always wanted to do that, not because I'm feeling the need for an armored door.
Out of all metal.
Yeah, like. Yeah, my current door has a big glass light in it. Like it wouldn't stop anybody if they wanted in, but I've always wanted to make like a true secure door, and then like armor the, take the drywall out and put steel up to where Like I could call my friends in the police department, and I could have SWAT come and train on my door, and they wouldn't be able to bust in. That kind of thing. Like I would love to make something like
awesome.
that. It'd be cool. Meg's over here looking at me all horrified, like, why would you want SWAT at our house? Imagine what the neighbors would think.
Why are you telling people what you want to do to your front door, Ben?
It's just, it's the fabricator in me. Like I've made things out of metal since I was 18, and there's just silly things like that I think about. It's like, it'd be kind of cool to make an impervious door. Like, I don't know why. Like, I used to build wrought iron and stuff like that. And I remember, like, I'd build a gate and look at it. And it's like, yeah, I could get through that with a crowbar pretty quick. Bend this, bend that, you're in. But if you get real serious, like, there are ways to make things impervious to pry bars. Like, you're going to have to get a cutting torch if you want in.
But then they'll see your door, but then they look just to the left, and then they'll just go right through your window.
Yeah. That's kind of, it's really more for like bunker living.
That's when you got to do the window too.
Yeah. Now we're building bunkers.
It doesn't end.
You're just armoring everything.
The whole house is metal.
You'd be better off digging a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a big old sheet metal wall. Anything else, guys? We're about an hour here. Or is that a good topic to leave off of?
I think that's a good place to end it on.
Yeah. Metal doors and bunkers.
Right.
On the next episode, we'll talk about homesteading in a bunker. Can you do it?
Homesteading underground.
And you never leave? You're just in there?
Can you live self-contained with no light?
Yeah.
You can, but would you want to?
All right, guys. That was a good one. It's good to be back.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, it really feels like I've been gone for like months. I know, it's so weird. Yeah, that was that was a good talk. And thank you guys for listening and watching these podcasts. Thank you so much. And for those of you that I saw this weekend in Iowa, thank you for saying hi. And some of you guys listen to the podcast, which is cool. And everybody else, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good week.
See you guys next week. Happy 4th of July.
Later, everybody. Hope you had a good 4th.